Bruce here with an episode of Chordplay, and this is the Chords of Intervals. And of course, we're going to be talking about Aaron Marshall and his band, Intervals, and not chords built, from intervals. Which that is a topic I am going to hit in an upcoming lesson. But we're talking about the band from Toronto, Canada, that's been on the scene since 2011, which has technically been 10 years, officially, this year. And I've been following Aaron Marshall and Intervals since about 2013. And I distinctly remember I was on Facebook, and there was a video clip, for his song Epiphany. And I remember I sat there at my laptop and I turned into like a Brooklyn, thug or whatever. I was like, well, who's the tough guy with the guitar? Hit play, and I was blown away. And I remember I watched the whole video, and then I watched it again, posted it on my Facebook page, and then I had a bunch of my guitar buddies that freaked out like, whoa, this is awesome. So if you haven't heard Intervals and you're, a fan of rock guitar and instrumental music, totally, you have to check out this band. Aaron is a monster. So Intervals has had 4 studio albums and 2 EPs, and I'm not really a, fly-by-night fan. Like, I'm literally a fan, and I bought, I think 4 of his albums on iTunes. And just as proof, here's an image with a little snapshot of my iTunes folder just to kind of show, like, I'm totally an Intervals fan. Intervals kind of started as almost a djenty, kind of aggressive, metal instrumental band. And then they've slowly kind of just morphed into a hard rock or rock instrumental group. And the early releases, had more 7-string guitars and detuned, tunings. And then somewhere around The Shape of Color, I noticed Aaron was using 6-string guitars in standard tuning. And I was like, whoa, progress. Or he's pushing himself, he's changing. And he hasn't completely abandoned 7-string guitars, but he has kind of limited the use of some of the lower tunings and some of those kind of gent-themed ideas. And he's kind of turning more into just a traditional, but very modern, rock instrumental guitarist. But the opening that was Touch and Go from The Way Forward, I think that's my favorite Intervals album, but there's great music on every release. And it's something like this. So right there in the beginning, we're basically playing a piece of D major 7. You're playing the root, the 3rd, and the major 7th. There's no 5th. We've got that. And that just kind of wakes you up, or smacks you in the face right there. And then the single note action, he's basically playing D Lydian. So the song kind of revolves around a Lydian tonality. You've got the chord, and then the first little pass with single notes is like this. One more time. And bang that D major 7 twice. Then you have this kind of cascading single note idea that's really cool. Go back to that D major 7. Got a modified version of the first idea that we played. Right there, grab the high E, slide that D to C sharp, grab the open B, and then grab that A note right there. And then you have this little melodic phrase. And go right back to the beginning again. Next is the opening to the song Tapestry from the In Time album, and we're tuned down a half step, and it looks and sounds like this. Something like that. And we're basically starting with this, and that's A minor. And the rhythm has this really, kind of interesting, kind of herky-jerky, feel to it. So you're basically strumming the chord and then kind of almost, kind of a slight palm mute on the bottom part, the open A and that E note there on the second fret on the D. So you're doing this. Which is interesting because you're kind of, playing a 3-note chord, and sometimes you're playing all 3 notes, sometimes you're kind of, slight palm muting 2 of those notes. So you're kind of, it's like a half and half thing. And then Aaron definitely seems to love these major 7 chords, because there's F major 7 right here, and then C major 7 down here. And then go back to that A minor again. The F sharp major 7. And then a B minor 7 flat 5 right here. Really cool, and I love the progression, cool like little twist on chords there. The next example is from the song Breathe, and this is from the album A Voice Within. And there's really just one chord for the opening, but it's a really interesting voicing. And Aaron's kind of picking his way through it, and it creates this mysterious, kind of haunting, sound like this. And that's basically A major 7 is what the chord is. But it's arranged, like in an unusual way. We got, fretted notes mixed with open strings, and I love those, chord voicings. And he's really just picking up and down through the top part, the top 4 strings, D, G, B, and high E. And then just repeat the D and the G again, and then that kind of creates, the cycle or pattern. Like that. A master at finding these, kind of chords, less used, or roads, less traveled. And I love that, where it's not your standard A major 7 at all. It's this kind of futuristic, dreamy A major 7. Which major 7 chords are pretty dreamy, but that is a really cool voicing. The next example is from the song Momento, and this is also from the End Time album, and we're tuned down a whole step and in drop D for this example. And it's really just a 3-chord hit that occurs, during the song. But those chords are so cool. It's just like, whoa, what is that? And it's something like this. One more time. So we're tuned down a whole step and then drop D. And then these 3 chords. Really cool. So in this tuning, I'm gonna, kind of name them according to how they look on the fretboard, but it's actually a whole step lower than what I'm gonna say. But this is a B minor 11 sus2, but in this, tuning, it sounds like A minor 11 sus2, but that's B minor 11 sus2, and he really just hits the bottom part and then the full chord, and then you're gonna move to this. And that's basically a G major 7 sus2. And you're really just barring the 5th fret and grabbing the 7th fret there on the G and the B string. And do the same thing. Hit the bottom part and the full chord. And then you're going to recycle that first fingering, but bring it down to the 2nd fret. So bar the 2nd fret, grab the 3rd fret on the B and the 5th fret on the D. And that's going to be an E minor 11 sus2. But in this tuning, it's going to sound like D minor 11 sus2. Just kind of let that chord ring like this. Really cool. Okay, up next is the song Sleight of Hand from The Shape of Color, and it looks like this. Right there, it starts with this, and we're playing a B minor 6 right there. Really cool tonality. And he's basically palm muting and arpeggiating these chords. So right there you've got this. Then move down to a partial G. And then you've got this. So that's going to be a D add 9 over F sharp. And then our old buddy E minor add 9. And then this is like an implied G sharp 11. And move to A. And then you've got this. So it's like the open G at F sharp, and then E to D, and then you loop the whole thing again. And the last time, when you get to that E minor add 9, you're going to stop on that open G string. And then he basically plays this D over F sharp to a G5, and then an F sharp over A sharp, and then it's kind of resolving to B. Like that. So one more time here. The last example is from the song Lock and Key, and this is from Interval's new album, Circadian, and it's something like this. A really interesting guitar part, and it starts with this, and it's basically an F sharp minor add 9, and he's kind of, intervallically weaving the notes of that chord together. And we've looked at a lot of add 9 chords, and I'm a big fan of that, tonality, but it's like this. And then he basically starts flirting with this, and there's a unison in there, that E note. So it's D sus2, but there's that blurry unison popping in like this. Really interesting. So they've got that, that unison kind of flying around in there. And the last time right there, basically slide that D down to F sharp and then grab that A, and then you're going to start the pattern over. And then that second time you're basically sliding the C sharp to B and then grabbing A right there. And then you just start looping, that riff. Definitely a finger twister, but I like that riff, and the new album's really cool. That's going to wrap this episode of Chordplay with the Chords of Intervals, and definitely Aaron Marshall's a very interesting guitarist, and it shocks me that, when I talk to, some of my friends or peers or just, guitarists in general, and I bring up his name or the band Intervals, they just kind of scratch their head and they're like, who? And I'm thinking, are you serious? You haven't heard this guy? He's been around for 10 years now, just paving this modern instrumental, guitar music, which is so inspiring, so musical. I mean, he can definitely shred your face off, but I've noticed Aaron is kind of a slave to the song, and he's always pumping out, these melodic ideas, lush chords and very expressive melodies, and definitely there's solos and licks and some shredding, but it's not the focus. The music is the focus, and that's why I really like him, because, he's not really worried about shredding a bunch of notes or being, like another Yngwie or Impellitteri or somebody. He's kind of charting his own path with music, which is so, refreshing, where it's like, wow, he has his own style, his own delivery, and very, very infectious. Like when you hear it and those songs start kind of growing on you, you'll find yourself, humming or whistling, some of these licks and melodies, which is so cool. So anyway, leave some feedback and some comments. Please subscribe to Night Lessons, and I'll be back before you know it with more content and material. Thank you.